YouTube, what the Total War Shogun 2 crap is going on? One of you requested some Shogun 2 action, and some of you requested some Napoleon action. Actually, I think it was the same person. Napoleon action might be hard to come by. I'll go check on it. Even Shogun 2 is pretty tough to find at some points here. Actually, I wanted to go back in Avatar real quick and show you something. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about potential army builds that you can use. So, whenever you play in Shogun 2, depending on your rank, I think it's like rank 1 through 3 is small battles, and then, what is it, it's like 4 to 6 is medium, and then I think maybe 7 to 10 is large, or something like that. Depending on the rank of your general, determines the fund size. Small is 5,000, medium is it 10,000? I think it's 10,000. Yes, it's 10,000, and then the highest one I think is 15. Or I could be wrong, maybe 12. I can't remember exactly what they have them set to. We'll find out here real quick if I just spam out this stuff. Medium. Yeah, large is 14. Okay. So I wanted to recommend some builds for you. So first of all, Shogun 2 has a little bit different scenario because you can have veterans. And no, you can't have this many veterans. I got this many veterans by taking advantage of a glitch that existed once upon a time. If you're new to this game, this will not be the case. So your number of veterans will be much more limited. That's just all there is to it. So I have a ton of veterans here, and a lot of them are pretty unnecessary, and a lot of them are pretty crappy. I'll give you some advice. Like if you want to build up a decent little army, you're gonna have to stick with it in combat. You're probably gonna get beat by some higher ranked people, especially at this point. But try and unlock Nodachi Samurai, and get you some Yari Cav unlocked, and unlock some Matchlock Samurai. And that'll be a good start. Eventually, well, I think if you just buy the DLC, you can start off with Matchlock Monks, Naginata Warrior Monk Cav, all that kind of stuff, and it's very helpful. Yari Sam can be a decent tool sometimes too. But anyway, Nodachi, and if you buy the DLC too, which I would recommend, the Rise of the Samurai DLC gives you Naginata attendants and stuff, which are actually a huge advantage to have in multiplayer because they're cheap throwaway units that have decentish armor. So very, very handy indeed. So I would recommend getting those units. You can do like Nodachi are great just because they have good charge and relatively high attack to start with, though they are weak to missiles and cav charges. So be aware of that. But what I like to do is, like if I was going to take a medium funds army, and actually you're going to see me take a couple of medium funds armies here in a minute. I just general rule of thumb for old school Shogun 2 battles: take some swords. Guard the swords with cheap Nagi attendants or other spears from cav charges in the front. Use matchlocks for your skirmishing for the most part. There is sometimes when bows are better. I suggest a leadership general if you're new to the game. Once you get more experience, you can try the bow or the melee gen. That would be my recommendation again. And then, swords guarded by spears up front. Make sure that you have a couple units of Yari Cav at least. Probably 3 or 4 would be better. And then a couple units of Light Cav. Light Cav is going to be an excellent tool for you for getting enemy skirmishers. So that would be my recommendation in general for an army. Yes, there's lots of different kinds of builds. No, that build won't work in general. It's just a pretty decent build right off the bat. So let's go back to the main menu, and let's show you some replays that I've got. The first one is going to be a fun battle on Shinato River against this guy, Livid Awesome, or Lividi Awesome. I don't know, whatever it is. Anyway. This guy was a rank 5 or 4 or 5, something like that. So it was a medium funds battle. And the advantage that you have to try and take whenever you have a lower rank avatar is that your avatar is cheaper. So you need to effectively bring more units to the battle to make your army more effective. But bear in mind, someone like me is going to have great retainers. I'm going to have access to good veterans, and my general is going to be full rank and capable of providing some big benefits to the battle. I've got 2 Light Cav, 3 Yari Cav, 3 Nagi attendants, 1 Wako Raider, which I was going to use to push up and take this archery dojo. Now my opponent very intelligently pushes the archery dojo, anticipating that I would rush the river. He's got a mounted gunner here, a Fire Cav, some Yari Cav. Now he has spent more money on veteran Yari Cav and a Fire Cav, and I have just brought vanilla units, and so I'm going to just try and keep him from getting the archery dojo, and I'm sending this unit over here to capture the workshop to boost the armor of my men. And I didn't realize this was a mounted gunner right off the bat, One of them is. Yeah, this one here. I didn't realize this was a mounted gunner right off the bat. I just figured it was another Yari Cav. I'm really bad at being situationally aware. It's something I need to work on. He's got 2 bow samurai here in the center. These guys are very expensive, so notice he has bow samurai and I have matchlock samurai. Let's see which one performs better. Now, bow samurai have the range, but they also cost more, and their killing is a lot slower. I use my light cav to push his mounted gunners off, and then retreated from his other cav. So light cav is very fast. This is what it's good for. You'll notice, though, that he sends in his mounted gunners, and I don't notice that they come up in range, and he is going to shoot my light cav. So that's where you got to watch out for those mounted gunners. So he racks up my light cav by about half its men. You can see my matchlock samurai. I just ignore the bow samurai, and I'm going to pull forward and open fire. Just going to start shooting my matchlocks at his frontline units. And matchlocks just get kills faster than bows, and that's all there is to it. And I can protect them with these cheap Naginata units. Come up, and just look at the devastation of this volley of matchlocks, killing almost 30 Yari samurai. My opponent gets antsy. He takes this cav engagement kind of blobbed up, and then my light cavalry catch his mounted gunners, and even though there's only 16 of them, they're going to win that fight, and now my Waka Raiders can come support this cavalry fight, but there's no need. His Yari Cav is getting beat by my guys because they got surrounded, and his mounted gunners are going to get taken out. My matchlock's forced an engagement, and then his fire cav gets stuck on some cheap Nagi attendants and some light Yari and light cav that I threw in there. He's going to come forward with his Nodachi samurai and get a solid charge here on my guys. And then over here, his Yari samurai are going to get just absolutely mass murdered by my Nodachi samurai. They're going to come in here and rip apart these spearmen. It's going to be fierce. The enemy general comes up the center, and this is dangerous. My matchlocks are back here. Cavalry are big, and they stand out in a crowd. And he brings them right in line of my matchlock samurai. And once again, I'm going to prove why matchlock samurai are, in my mind, superior to the bow samurai in most occasions. Their price is cheaper, and their killing power is higher. The enemy general gets shot to death. And basically, there's nothing to stop me from getting my cavalry now back here into his more expensive bow samurai, which got hardly any kills. 8 and 12, so only 20 kills in total, whereas my matchlock fired for roughly the same amount of time, got 63 kills and 48 kills. So that's why I've seen some of you when I say matchlocks are good, you say, they reload slow and their range is less. They are, but beware. I do believe they're easier to use effectively. Now, a Daikyu Samurai used properly can be good. Occasionally, a Bow Monk with the right upgrades can be a dangerous unit too, but they are very expensive, and the person using it has to be smart. They have to use their ammo well, and if you can get a hold of an archery dojo with a pretty campy army and some bow monks or a Daikyu samurai and like a mounted gunner, it can get dangerous, you know, because you'll have unlimited ammo, essentially. Because remember on Shogun 2, if you take the archery dojo, not only do you get increased reload and accuracy and stuff, you get the ability to reload your ammunition for a unit back there. So pretty quick battle here because my opponent took some engagements that he should not have. He should not have underestimated my cavalry. And his fire cavalry should have been in the cavalry engagement, and if he wanted to try and get at my matchlocks, he should have waited until his infantry engaged and gotten my Naginata tied down, and then he could have gotten his Yari Cav around and into my matchlocks, though he would have still had to have been careful, because if you stay too close before you do it, the matchlocks can shoot your cavalry down with a good volley. Now, matchlock samurai, vanilla ones, can be fairly useful. Just be careful if your opponent brings more upgraded matchlocks, you're going to probably take a beating. It's not uncommon to see the 150 range matchlock monks. They're 125 range. The special ability makes them 150 range for a short time, and they're good units, but they're also more expensive. So again, just a vanilla matchlock. Unit statistics, look at this light cavalry here. 78 kills. I mean, light cavalry are a great unit. Just a good unit to be able to make use of. So I like having them around. They're fast, they're effective. So we're going to go back and take a look at one more replay that I have for you. So that player was, it looks like in the process of ranking up, he gave me a decent fight in some locations, but again, beware of the more veteran players. They're like myself there, I had the Fugu Cook retainer card, which is going to make all my swords have higher attack. You really don't want to be in engagement with my swords, not without having, softened them up. You had the long range skirmishing advantage with the bow samurai. The last thing you should have done is rush. You should have just pulled back whenever I pushed my matchlocks forward, and you should have kept some cavalry to keep my matchlocks honest. Keep it out of their range, but use your bows, keep the cavalry around, so if the matchlocks keep pushing, you can do that. And you're going to have to use your bows patiently in order to pick apart matchlock samurai, because they have decent armor, because they're a samurai unit. Anyway, so this is the Ishiyama Ruins Map, which is normally one that I played more on Follow Samurai. But anyway, we've got an archery dojo over here right next to my spawn. There's 4 key buildings. I just tried to go into the tactical map view. That does not work on Shogun 2. So yeah, I'm going to send my Nagi attendants. This is what they excel at. This is another medium funds battle, by the way. Nagi attendants are great for capturing buildings because they're weak enough that you can just send them on to do something. Now, I noticed right off the bat that my opponent has a fire-projecting mangonel. This is a mistake. This unit's expensive. It's not very good. It's not very good in siege battles. It's not very good in open field battles. It's just a poor unit to bring to a multiplayer battle. It's expensive with very limited ammo, and it's fixed. It can't go anywhere, which means you have to defend it. And in a game where there's key buildings that give your opponent bonuses and potentially can help them win the match, the last thing you want to do is be camping your spawn with a piece of equipment. And he has no cavalry. Now, I know that you start off with the ability to field light cavalry, and he should have brought some. But he's got access to Matchlock Ashigaru, and you can see that there's 3 of those, and just a horde of bow Ashigaru. I see 4, 5, 6, 7 bow Ashigaru. And then if we look at his infantry line, Yari Ashigaru, and he's got a center of 2 Katana Samurai, 1 Naginata. Or no, make it 3 Katana Samurai and 1 Naginata. So he has a numbers advantage over me. All I have is a long Yari, and I have 2 Katana Samurai. So infantry-wise, he's got an advantage. Skirmish-wise, he has an advantage. What's going to be his problem here? Protecting all these skirmishers. He only has 1 spear unit, and that's a pretty foolhardy mistake in this case, and no light cavalry. Which means that all my cavalry on the field, if it's patient enough, if he keeps up this stuff where he's going to bring his skirmishers way out in front of his line, this is just going to lead to an out-and-out massacre. These Ashigaru units cannot stand up to a cavalry charge. None of them are in like a good formation. They're all kind of in a column formation, which means that they're going to be pretty open to being charged and quickly killed by cavalry while not being able to get many shots in return. Now you can see his fire-projecting mangonel is now shooting, but I think he's manually targeting because I'm pretty sure I'm out of its range. Maybe it's within range here. I can't tell. But y'all give me just a second here. I'll be right back. Didn't realize that little Air's monitor was still in the room, and he's stirring around in his crib some, making some noise. So I just went to turn it down. In any case, so yeah, we got all these skirmishers out here in just a delicious ball. So I go get my cavalry hidden in the woods, and I start walking them so he can't see what I'm doing with them. I'm going to bring this Nagi attendant up here to draw their attention. This Nagi attendant is just pure bait, and this unit's worthless. If he shoots it to death, I don't care. If he wastes fire-projecting mangonel ammo on it, now don't get me wrong, it looks cool, but it's just looks really cool actually. Anyway, you can see his bow Ashigaru taking some shots. This poor sap dies for Patchy here with an arrow to the upper thigh. Yeah, anyway, you can hear the arrows hitting the ground there, and my guys are running away from that barrage of arrows. Anyway, but his skirmishers, look at this just delicious blob of skirmishers. This is a cavalryman's dream, just seeing all these guys out here, and there is no enemy cavalry to protect them, and my cavalry are split up and hidden across the map. You can see 1 unit hiding in the woods there, and I have some cavalry units moseying about on the hill up above these guys too. And this is the point at which I'm going to go ahead and spring my trap. His fire-projecting mangonel is busy firing at worthless units, and you can see my cavalry cresting the hill, and this other cavalry unit moving through the forest now. So all these skirmishers are cut off from their main army, and now they're just going to be a big delicious blob of death. And the only thing that could have been better here is if this was Katana Cavalry, or better yet, the hero Katana Cavalry. But yeah, my cavalry are going to come in here and just trash this line of skirmishers. This ball is dead. And right here, I'm going to actually set a record for most kills I have ever gotten on a light cavalry. So this is insane. So this is why light cavalry is good. Yari cavalry, it's quick, it's good on the charge, it can mop up skirmishers like this quickly, and this is why you bring spear protection and cavalry protection if you're going to bring skirmishers, because this is just an absolute, I accidentally clicked out of the game, absolute out-and-out massacre. And his guys are just going to get absolutely destroyed, and they're not even going to come back from routing for the most part because I'm free to chase them. He did have these other bow units, and these Yari Ashigaru and Naginata Samurai probably would have been helpful if they would have been up closer to the units, but now they're not close enough. So my cavalry just rampage through all the routing men and get more and more kills. My guys have an absurd number of kills at this point. This light cavalry, 217 kills. He does get a shot off with his mangonels and kills a few of my cavalrymen, but it's not a big deal. So yeah. At this point, my army, I'm going to move it up into position to engage his melee troops. And all this while, I've been being sneaky. I've got a Yari Cav back here behind his army in the forest, and it's going to be making a run on his general pretty soon to see if I can assassinate his general. So just gonna, I mean, this guy's obviously new, and he's overmatched here, but this is hopefully going to be a chance for people to learn some lessons. Like, don't do this. Don't bring this many skirmishers. Yes, you can bring more units when you have a lower tier general, and you should take advantage of that, but bringing a ton of skirmishers, you have to have a plan for how to use them. You've got to have a way to use them. Maybe if he would have brought a ton of Yari Ashigaru and then a ton of skirmishers where he could have actually protected them, he might have had some chance to use this army to some effect, because his sheer numbers would have allowed him to whittle me down. And it's quite possible at that point that it could have worked. Now, the fire projecting mangonel was a waste. He should have just brought more samurai units or some cavalry, better yet. Even just a few light cav here could have prevented this disaster. These two Bo Ashigaru did not learn the lesson from their friends, and this light cavalry comes back in and now has 350 some odd kills. Over here, his spear units in the woods are actually going to come down and engage my men. This Yari Ashigaru is suicidal, and then this unit here, this Naginata samurai, is also going to charge in. So yeah, these guys are going to get absolutely crushed by my katana samurai, and they're going to get hit by an immediate rear charge from this Yari cavalry back here, and it's going to be a devastating flank charge. I guess not quite a rear, or actually that's my Nagi attendants, my bad. So my Nagi attendants are going to get a flank charge. His guys are already wavering, and his general comes up, and right as this general comes up, I was putting my long Yari into a Yari wall, though it was a bit of a fail. My general and another cavalry wrapped up his fire projecting mangonel, and we're going to flank charge these katana samurai, and then I'm going to come with a downhill cavalry charge from the top of the hill. You can see katana samurai and Yari samurai flying down the hill, but it's an absolute slaughter. Their morale could not hold with all the stuff that was going on. You can see just men being chucked everywhere, and my cavalry are in like a feeding frenzy here on all these guys. So this battle was just an absolute cavalry massacre. And it's because my opponent made some key mistakes. Again, he's new. I'm not showing this to try and show that I'm great. I'm just trying to show you how bad things can go wrong if you make a few key mistakes. There's a lot of folks who buy these Total War games on sale later on, and it's awesome that they want to jump into multiplayer, but they may come on and end up playing, you know, like playing a battle like this and be like, that sucked, I just got wrecked, I don't want to play that anymore. Well, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. You put yourself definitely kind of behind the gun when you come into one of these games late, especially one like Shogun 2 where it has the avatar system. Now, there's a few key things to keep in mind here. I mean, I was outnumbered 2-1, but that advantage was not able to be pushed because of the way the troops were used and because of the support they had. So again, in a medium funds battle, let's go over here and let's go back into Avatar Conquest, and let's pick a general. Let me just kind of show you here, just so that we can have some advice. Let's go to my avatar, promote avatar, no, customize. I'm trying to remember where we switch. I think it's up here. Yeah, let's go to like Emperor Apache here. So this is a low level, or no, that's a Apache's Legacy will be a better example. So this is a general that I started, like a second general. I never finished ranking him back up. So I mean, he's only got 5 stars. But if we go into Army and Navy Management, so let's say that I'm a fairly low player. This looks like I have access to pretty similar units to what that guy had access to. So, you know, what can I do with this type of army against what I brought there? Now, I don't think he had access to Matchlock Samurai or Nodachi, but he did have access to Katana Samurai. So what would I have done? I think the Matchlock Ashigaru were a good choice. And remember, this is a medium funds battle, and his avatar would have cost a little less than mine because he was slightly lower ranked. I don't disagree with bringing the Bo Ashigaru and the Matchlock Ashigaru because he can do some killing from range. So let's maybe even say that he picks those units. Maybe something like that. You got a ton of skirmishers. Great. Not a bad plan. If he has... let's see. If he has the... Well, I would just probably go with Yari Ashigaru because they have wall. 6 of these guys to protect your skirmishers. And if he wants to do the all-infantry thing. So I'm assuming he does. And we can go all the way up to 10,000. I mean, look, that's 5 Katana Samurai with a Yari wall to protect your skirmishers. And, you know, enough that you could probably keep some in reserve, to be honest. But, I mean, if he wanted to do something more like this, and, you know, again, I don't know if he owned the DLC or not, but, I mean, it does help. So let's say that he bought the Rise of the Samurai DLC. So you got 4 Yari up front to make a wall to protect your skirmishers. Put your matchlocks out front, your bows behind, and then you got your Katana Samurai for a melee line. And remember, we can go all the way up to 10,000 for medium funds. And at this point, I would probably recommend let's drop one of these bows. You probably don't need that. You've got the 3 matchlocks. This right here would have been trouble for my matchlock samurai to deal with because they were just vanilla. And then these guys would have been able to protect the front line with maybe even just a couple of them. And then he could keep a couple in the rear. And then you could do something like this. 4 light cavalry in the mix. So with 2 spears in the back lines and some light cav and the skirmishers, this would have been a much more difficult army for me to take on with what my opponent had there. So, I mean, that would have been more challenging for me to face. I mean, he could have brought 1 less Katana Samurai, and if he had access to Yari Samurai, or Yari Cav, you could do something like, well, you'd have to adjust this a little bit further, but I mean, anyway, let's just assume he wants to keep skirmishing, but something like this would have been far more dangerous to me, because he still has some melee power, he's got some spear support, and this is more skirmishing power than I would have had. He would have had quite a few more men with matchlocks than I did, even though my guys were qualitatively superior, and he had the bow support. The light cavalry combined with the spears could have kept his guys away. So, I mean, anyway, this would have been a much more effective army and something that he could have used a little bit better and given him more flexibility. And as a low-tier general, he can afford to bring quite a few more units. So, obviously, he would have outnumbered me by, like, 6 or 7 units on the map. So, hopefully this gives you all a little bit of insight if you're relatively new to Shogun 2. Now, I am not a master of Shogun 2. There's probably stuff I can learn, so if you disagree, make sure to state that here. But hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.